I like watching biographies. Stations like A&E have a lot of them. I think it's interesting to see how people who are now famous acquired their fame. And so some of them, you realize, acquired it by chance, and others through determination, some through life, and others through death. And so there seems to be a lot of interest in these type of shows because they're always on somewhere, which is good for me. Another type of show I like to watch is the one that gives you an inside glimpse of a famous person's house. And so most of the time they're showing these mansions inhabited by some great sports star. And I don't consider myself materialistic, but I do have an appreciation, dare I say a fascination, with these big honking mansions and these fancy gadgets that are usually found inside. And so I didn't grow up that way, and so maybe there's some reality in kind of wanting to know how the other half lives, whatever the other half is. You know, extravagance and excessive waste aside, yeah, there's a part of me that would like to have just some of that. You know, maybe just a room, minus the upkeep and minus the expense, of course. And on all of these shows, they talk about the star's ascent to greatness and how that famous person climbed this ladder of social success. And then I think about myself as a Christian, and it's such a paradox. Because when I gave my life to Christ, when I was baptized at the ripe old age of 8, I actually descended to greatness. In Romans chapter 6 and verse 4, Paul says, "We were buried therefore with him by baptism into death, in order that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, we too might walk in newness of life. For if we have been united with him in a death like his, we shall certainly be united with him in a resurrection like his." And so there it is. Burial, death, descent. It doesn't get much lower than that. And so these are terms that are used pejoratively in the sports world to talk about how badly someone lost a game, right? These are negative terms. Yet when we become Christians, we die, we are buried, and we descend. But that's not the end of our story. Paul reminds us that though we die, we live. And though we are buried, we're resurrected. And though we descend, we ascend. And it's such a paradox in the eyes of this world, but not in the eyes of God. God has already given us a glimpse inside of his house, a house that is extravagant, a house where we have no upkeep, a mansion where we all have our own room. Just a most wonderful place, mortgage-free. Mortgage-free. So yeah, I like watching biographies, but I think the best biography is found in the pages of the Holy Bible. For it's in here that I find how the most famous man who ever lived descended to greatness, and he invites me to descend with him.